The Foley ADR room has two microphones, an AKG414, which is really good for voiceover and recording musical instruments, some sound effects, and a shotgun mic, which is the Sennheiser 416, which is the same one we're using for production sound. This is what you would use for ADR or Foley. The microphones get plugged in to the microphone inputs, and the two active microphone inputs are 1 and 2. Below them you'll see at the very bottom, you'll see the headphone outputs, and you could plug in up to 4 headphones. You'll mainly be using input 1. In the recording room, make sure everything is turned on. This would be the preamp, the headphone amplifier, the Mackie Big Knob, as well as the speakers. The green light would be illuminated on the speakers. Use this reference sheet to verify all the settings on the Mackie Big Knob. Go through each one individually. Very often I come in here and I'm not getting any sound, and it's because I missed something. So it makes sense to just go through it step by step. If you're using input 1, you want to have the input on the Mackie set to about 12 o'clock because you're really using this gain switch to adjust the levels for your microphone. Since we're only using input 1, we don't want 48 volts pressed in. This 1-2 button should not be pressed in. This down here is going to control what's being sent to the headphones. When you set it to source, the headphones hear the same thing we hear. If you set it to USB 3.4, you can send a different mix to the headphones. We'll talk about that later. Below that, direct source monitoring should be all the way on Q. Make sure the USB button is pressed in and illuminated, and make sure the Studio Outs button is also pressed in. This big knob is what controls the level we hear from the speakers in the control room. Be careful that you don't have mono, mute, or dim pressed in. The A monitor button should be pressed in, and the level should be set to 0 dB. If you want to speak into the headphones, you'd press the Q button and hold it down so the headphones can hear you. Again, every time you come in here, it's a really great idea to reference this overview just to make sure everything's set the way it should be set. So to reiterate the signal flow, we have the microphone plugged into input 1 in the recording room. The signal then goes to the PreSonus preamplifier, where we use the gain knob to adjust the level. You want to make sure that the compressor bypass and EQ bypass are lit up red. The signal then goes to the Mackie Big Knob, which sends the signal to Pro Tools. To get a level, you'll place the channel into record and adjust the gain. You'll notice as you adjust the gain, the level on the meter in Pro Tools. You want the level on the meter to register where the color green kind of becomes like a lime green. It's sort of the middle of the meter where that happens. To record, you would engage the record button on the transport, make sure your track is in record, and press play, and it'll start recording. In order for the person in the recording room to hear your level, you can adjust the headphone level here. The master also adjusts the level. It's best to just leave that at 12 o'clock. When doing voiceover with the AKG414 microphone, don't forget to use the pop filter, placed about 4 to 6 inches from the microphone.